Struggling to earn 3 stars at Town Hall 14? Well, these are the 5 best attack strategies you need to use in 2025. With the addition of the new Ice Block spell and balance changes from the June update, let's break each army down to increase your 3-star success. To kick things off at number 5, we have the Fireball Super Witches. Still a relatively strong army despite the Fireball not getting as much value at Town Hall 14, but still incredibly good thanks to the new Ice Block spell. To start off, you're going to be using the Grand Warden's Fireball. Typically, this is going to be using a few invisibility spells on defenses on the outside before sending the Fireball in to clear a compartment. Keep in mind that at this point in time, your Fireball only has 5 tile radius instead of 6, but you should still get some decent value as you can lure over your Warden with the Super Witches. This way you can have the Apprentice Warden buff all of their HP, and over on the other side, you can cut off the funnel so you can get into the core with Super Wall Breakers. Using the Queen and the Siege Barrack there with the action figure and magic mirror will allow you to set a solid funnel, while your King, Super Witches, Ice Golem, and Warden, along with the healers and balloons, work themselves into the core. Now this is really important because you want to make sure that as you're diving into the core, you can use Ice Block spells. This is going to freeze up your troops and obviously any tanks while your healers heal everything up. This allows you to extend the value further and just provide even more tanking. Using the King with his Spiky Ball and Earthquake Boots in the core will basically open up the entire rest of the base, while you've got your Royal Champion over on the back end clearing out defenses with the Rocket Spears. Otherwise, this should easily 3-star because you've got spells like Rage to power everything through, Freeze to stop key defenses, you can use the Ice Blocks to heal your Super Witches back up to full, and obviously you have the Furnaces from the Siege Barrack to clear through the back end of the base. This realistically just gives you a very strong strategy more often than not. At number 4, we have the Super Yeti Smash. This is still one of the better strategies in the game, all in part due to the Yeti's high DPS, high HP, and the Electromites, but got buffed thanks to the Ice Block spells addition. Now to keep this strategy straightforward and simple, you're going to start with a Royal Champion charge, typically using your Rocket Spear early on in order to clear out a couple defenses early on before using your invisibility spells. This way you can create a bit of proper funneling as you get your Royal Champion in before using your invisibility spells every 4 seconds or just as she leaves the previous invisibility. This way you can get the best value while still keeping her alive. Once she's gotten enough value or you've exhausted all your invisibilities, you can recall her. This way you can use your Queen and the Siege Barrack to cut off the funnel on the other side. This is typically what you're going to do most of the time, but this is going to create perfect funneling for you to dive into the core with your Super Yetis, Electro Titan, King, Warden, and the Royal Champion. You've got healers, of course, because this is going to keep all of your troops and heroes alive as you work in. Using the Rage Gem and the Healing Tome on the Grand Warden allows you to have a lot more survivability, especially when you have the Ice Block spell to pretty much provide a ton of coverage for your attack. Just make sure that you use a Super Wall Breaker to get into the core, and as you work in, you want to use the Ice Block to prevent too much damage, provide some tanking, but also keep your Super Yetis healed. This way you can use the Healing Tome to keep everything protected, while your other troops like the King with his Spiky Ball and Earthquake Boots to open up the base, a jump spell for the back end, and realistically as you work towards that back end, using another Rage to deal with the Town Hall and using an Ice Block to avoid the Town Hall poison damage is really just going to allow you to crush bases with ease. This strategy is just incredibly strong and realistically doesn't need a lot to actually use. You just need to make sure that you're comfortable with using the Royal Champion charge and you're good to go. At number 3, we have the Mass Super Hogs. Thanks to the new Ice Block spell, the Super Hog Riders are incredibly good with the Life Gem and Healing Tome combo on the Warden to basically keep him alive and overkill the base. Pretty much to keep it quite simple, we're going to be again starting with a Royal Champion charge. This time we are not using any ability early on other than her Electro Boots, and we're using her invisibility spells every 4 seconds. This way we can create a bit of a quick funnel, so that way we have enough of a push with our hero dive. This way we can recall her and have her for later on in the attack, but using a super wall breaker for our main heroes and cutting off that funnel with the Yeti and the Wizards will allow us to use the Ice Golem, the Barbarian King, and the Archer Queen to start working in for value. We want to make sure that we take the Log Launcher to open up the walls for our hero dive, which we're going to use an Earthquake spell for. Typically, I would recommend taking a poison spell, but within the CC, you've got an Electro Titan, and in addition, you've also got the Queen who can deal with the enemy CC without needing a poison spell. So you will be able to get through the enemy CC with ease, and having the Giant Gauntlet Rage Vial on the King with the action figure and the Magic Mirror on the Queen, you should be able to get through a large area of the core, which will create great pathing for your Super Hog Riders. This way you can basically send them in with the Grand Warden and the Royal Champion to follow. A couple regular Hog Riders can be used to control the pathing of your Super Hogs, which is very important, so I do recommend taking a bit more of those instead of just 15 Super Hogs. But you do want to use an early heal spell to keep everything alive as they work in towards the Town Hall or to an area of high DPS. This is where I recommend using the Ice Block. This way you can nullify the Town Hall poison, and as you work in, you can have the heal spell keep everything alive. This realistically will then just allow you to have the Hog Puppets from your Royal Champion provide even more Hog Riders, and with the Healing Tome towards the back end, you pretty much will keep a ton of your Super Hogs alive, and any that die will be used as cleanup. Otherwise, the Life Gem with the Healing Tome is just insanely strong for the Super Hog Riders that it's realistically going to be the best combo for you as long as you take the Ice Block spell. Otherwise, this should easily 3-star given you have enough cleanup. Now, number 2, we have to include the Mass Dragons. Thanks to the Ice Block spell, using an Ice Hound or a Lava Hound is even better, but it also adds the option of using the Healing Tome, Rage Gem, or even the Lava Loon Puppet. Pretty much, we're going to be starting off with another Royal Champion charge. However, in this attack, we're going to be using the Rocket Spear early on in order to create a bit of funneling for our Royal Champion, while she can also get some additional defenses down before actually starting the charge. This way, this can create a bit of funneling for your main dragon push before you start to use your invisibility spells every 4 seconds. Don't be afraid to overlap your invisibilities or use multiple, given that you don't have the Spirit Fox at this Town Hall level, but you do have a Rage, where I typically recommend using that with your Royal Champion. This will speed her up while also being able to deal with more high HP threats like the Town Hall. Getting rid of this with the Royal Champion charge is really good, but not necessarily the most important thing, but I do still recommend trying to remove it with the Royal Champion. Otherwise, as you slowly start to run out of invisibilities, you do want to start making sure that you set up the funneling for your dragons. This is why I typically recommend the Siege Barrack, and using the Queen on the other side to clear 1 or 2 air defenses is ideal. This really is then going to leave one last air defense alive, give or take, with the use of an Ice Hound to move in with your dragons, your Minion Prince, and the Warden. Having the Ice Block with the Ice Hound will allow you to delay that frost from it while also providing a ton of tanking early on for your dragons. As you start to work into the core of the base, however, you do want to use the Minion Prince's ability in order just to slow everything down. If you are dealing with a sweeper, you shouldn't really have to worry too much since there isn't much that can really deal with it. However, having the Healing Tome with the Rage Gem, or even in this case, the Lava Loon Puppet, just adds so much to the base. You should take another Ice Block spell to provide enough tanking for your main dragon push, and having the Healing Tome paired with that is just insanely strong. The Lava Loon Puppet will be able to provide some cleanup troops, some nice tanking from Seeking Air Mines and other defenses, and this should really allow your dragons to kind of spread out. Obviously, you don't need to use just the Lava Loon puppet. You can run the Rage Gem instead and it'll work just as well. You just want to make sure that you have the furnaces on the back end, and you really should be able to 3-star without any issues. And the best attack strategy, surprisingly, is the mass miners. Not only is this incredibly simple, incredibly easy, but it's just insane overkill with so much healing and tanking for your mass miner. So this strategy is extremely simple, as we're starting with a few Yetis in order to create funneling for our king and queen to work in. This way they can clear out a given area of the base, while on the other side we're running the siege barrack. That way we can cut off our funnel and just set up funneling on the other side for our mass miner. With the barbarian king, we have a spiky ball and earthquake boots in order to open up the base, while also allowing our queen with her action figure and magic mirror to extend that value, and using an ice block to provide even more tanking. With 2 sides of our funnel set, this pretty much lets our mass miner start moving through the entire rest of the base. Now, not having the Eternal Tome seems like a downside with the mass miner, but it really isn't. With the life gem, we're already giving them a ton of HP to work with. Having a healing spell in order to provide a ton of value for our mass miner is really nice, but having a ice block spell is even better, as this basically shuts down the defenses from doing too much damage and keeps the mass miner working through. An overgrowth can be used over the Eagle Artillery or anywhere where we can get some good pathing while using the healing tome of the Grand Warden. This allows us to use another ice block spell to provide extra tankage on a different group while still healing. And then realistically, we have 2 more healing spells that we can use towards the back end of the base to easily crush any base. This is a very strong strategy, and with this being a variation used at Town Hall 17, this will absolutely work up to that point, making this a super simple and extremely easy strategy to use and 3-star with. Now, with these attacks, hopefully this shows you the power of the new Ice Block spell and how you can use it for super simple and reliable 3-stars. However, if you want to see the best combinations for other heroes other than the Warden, I recommend checking out this video right here, and YouTube says this video right here is the best for you.